It's Flip City Magazine, The Parodies, Special Edition, with savage send-ups of The Walking Dead, Star Trek Picard, Stranger Things, The Mandalorian, Guardians of the Galaxy, and more from the first 4 years of Flip City. Get Flip City The Parodies free when you subscribe in print at flipcitymag.com. The world's best satire magazine, and never, ever woke.
The Madness Comic Network and comic-related madness proudly presents Madness Tuesday Morning Brew. Tune in to our content on Comic Talk with Pops Van Zandt on YouTube.
Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday. It is Tuesday morning brew. I am your hostess, Laurie Calcaterra. I'm insane. I've got caffeine. I'm here with my Scully cup. I'm happy because I have some good coffee. But I was just talking with our guest today, Eddie, in the back about how crazy busy I am right now. And oh my gosh, it's been nuts. My books came in. I just want to show off my books real quick. If you haven't seen the issue 5s, they're here. So we have main cover. We have, this is the B cover. This is William Russell, the Reaper heading into Santa Claus. We have the Victor Medina, Jude St. Clair, and Big James, of course. Good morning, Lou. We have the la 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 la. It's the last thing you'll ever see. And of course, the DeFeo cover, running out of Santa Claus because shit's burning down. They're all here. They're beautiful. I'm processing. I'm packaging. Everything is bagged and boarded. And if you didn't see what we're doing with the wooden covers, we have wooden covers. It's amazing. So I'm going to be attaching these for the people that ordered these this week. Hey, yo. So these turned out super cool, and I cannot wait to have these out to you. So I should start the first batch being shipped tomorrow because I don't have a car today, so I can't get to the post office. But so yeah, tons of stuff going to start going out this week. I do have to make 2 more batches of hot sauce. I'm running low. I have no more green, and I'm running low on the mango. So if you ordered those, I'll be making those this week and they'll be going out soon. Everything is in process. I can't wait. And yeah, that last one, those Marcos with everything on fire, super fun. Let's see. If the wood, make sure your comic burns faster. Yeah, please don't light your comics on fire. It's not the actual apocalypse. Or is it? We'll think about it. I'll get back to you on that one. So anyway, everything's going to start shipping out this week. The stickers, the early bird stickers are super cool, but I'm sending everybody else a special sticker. So when you get it, have a giggle. It's for the Path of the Pale Rider fandom. I'm not going to show you what they are because I want you to be surprised when you open your package. So super cool. All right. So that's what's going on Path of the Pale Rider wise. I'm going to bring in my guest today, which I'm super excited. Everybody, welcome Eddie Lema. How are you?
Morning, everyone. Morning, Laurie. Thanks for having me back. And oh my goodness, that cover, that laser cover, ooh, that is literal fire.
Cool?
Well, let's just say fire. Oh my gosh, look at that. That is amazing.
I cannot wait.
How heavy does it make it? Is it a little heavy, or has it got
it's
some?
It's not.
Okay.
I think it's basswood.
Okay.
It's pretty
cool.
light. It's pretty
looks like
light.
it is. Man, that is so cool.
But I gave it a light stain and I cleaned up all the suits. So they're beautiful. But I figured now is the time. We were doing metal covers for 1 through 4. And we're moving like right into apocalypse Western territory. So I was like, wooden covers, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what a perfect fit. What a perfect fit for the genre. And then if someone throws in, if they can catch on fire, that goes perfectly with a zombie apocalypse. You got some kindlewood there, you know.
For those of you who have read the PDF of issue 5, you know.
Okay, there you
everything burns down.
There you go. Even though it's so beautiful, I wouldn't light it on fire. It's really cool.
Right. Don't light your comics on fire.
No. Was there any part of it that was a little difficult? Like some of it was a little difficult in terms of like with thin lines and everything, with how it gets burnt in there, or everything.
I lasered these myself. I had to go learn how to use the laser printer. There's a makerspace. I don't know if you guys are familiar with a makerspace.
Yep, I've heard that before.
Makerspace is like an area where they have like 3D printers, they have laser engravers, they have vinyl cutters, and you can come in and rent the space and use the equipment for whatever you want, as long as you stay within their parameters. So the Frisco Library has a makerspace.
Wow.
So I'm not in Frisco, so I paid for the annual membership to that library just so I could use the makerspace, because that's part of their membership.
Right.
And so when I went, I had to experiment with the material. Like I got the material that I wanted, and then, hi Dustin, how are you? And then I tried all the different settings, like, okay, so a little bit faster, a little bit slower, changed the power of the laser. It had like some different settings. So I just did the same image like 15 times in different settings to see which one I liked and how it turned out. So that was the first step. And then it was, I cut some and they turned out great, but they were just slightly too big.
Oh, okay.
So then I had to figure that out. So I had to resize it, and now they're perfect. They're perfect. So it took me a few tries, and I think each one of these takes about 20 minutes to cut.
Okay.
So I was there for a few sessions, because I think you can block like 3-hour times, 3-hour blocks. So
when you adjust the laser and everything, it does it make it darker at things? Like what are you literally adjusting?
Well, you're adjusting the speed. So the laser is hitting, but the slower it goes, the deeper it goes. Kind of thing, because it's over the wood longer. So there was like 3 different settings. I forget. It was like speed, power, and something else. I forget. I haven't been in a while, because I was so excited to do it that I was going every week to get these done.
Yeah.
And my poor team, like Matt and Gilbert and Rachel, where I was just bombarding them with pictures and like, trying to work, Laurie. And I was like, look how cool this is. Who cares about your work?
Well, listen, in everything you do, even in your campaign, you take really your time to do it, and you do it well. You always give a good product no matter what you do,
Thanks, Eddie. I appreciate that. And no, I didn't pay Eddie to come on the show, guys. We're really going to talk about Eddie. For those that don't know, I host another show on Wednesdays called the Any One World Showcase. And I interview creators from Any One World, which is a part of ASAP Imagination. They're the ones that published. I don't know if you've seen my book, and they have their little logo here. That's ASAP, right?
Yep.
And so Eddie is also a part of that. And we had the joy of launching his Kickstarter campaign. 22 days ago.
Yeah.
Wow. It's like no time and forever at the same time.
Oh my gosh. And I'll never forget that moment. Listen, I'm a newbie, right? I mean, you are the Yoda of the game, and
I'm not a Yoda.
Yes, you are. You're my Yoda. And so I'm a newbie. And as much, like I think as I was telling you before, when I first got into this, I started really looking at people, and particularly with Kickstarter, those who ran campaigns and successful indie campaigns. And when I came across you and the way you run the campaign, and really, it's not just the campaign, you really make it an experience. That really helped me. So, and that's like about a year ago, right? So I'm still finishing the comic and getting ready to market it. And now, I start bringing things into play. And then when I started thinking about the Kickstarter, I sign in with ASAP. And then at that point, I'm like, wow, that's right. Laurie's here. Maybe she can give me some pointers. And you've been nothing but gracious in helping me and helping to keep my Kickstarter simple. I remember that's the first thing you said, Eddie, keep it simple. It's your first time, and some of the best advice I've ever been given on this Kickstarter, So so it's amazing. I'm back home. I'm back home to see if Yoda can bless me. Maybe I could be a Jedi after this, Maybe I could be a Jedi after this. So no, but I really want to thank you.
You did that on your own. You did that on your own.
Yeah, but that launch party really set me off. It was really cool, and just
we
the
had
friends
a fun
and the
time.
family. Yeah, and I remember asking you about it, like, how was your first time? And
it was so weird.
Story. Yeah, I remember the weird one. Yeah.
Like nothing. They wouldn't launch, and Jeff Haas had to go try and fix it because they couldn't figure it out, and we were live streaming when it.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! But look where you are now. So okay, maybe it was a sign of good luck back then. You just didn't know it.
It's one of those things. Like you just gotta roll with the punches, and it works itself out. Even my last campaign, I was messing around with those late pledges,
right? And
didn't set it up right. Launched the campaign, and like 80% of my pledges disappeared.
Oh boy! Oh my god!
Like what the heck? Ooh. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I was like, talk amongst yourselves. I'm gonna go fix the campaign.
I remember. But yes, we're back. So I'm back, and I made my goal. Yippee!
Yes.
So now we're heading towards the first stretch goal, hopefully. And then we'll take it from there. But I'm really super excited. Now I'm in the process of really getting everything together to ship it. I got my first sample of the comic. Yeah,
let me see.
Can I world premiere it for you? Here we go.
Yeah.
Dun 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 dun. Here it is in all its glory. And so what's so awesome about it? It's really, it's just amazing how the colors just popped, and particularly, especially with the dark, because everything in my story is going to take place all in one night. So it had to be super important that the lighting and the coloring was important. And so here he is landing in the South Bronx in '82, and it looks very desolate. It looks like there's no one here, and so he's landing into a strange place.
Wait. Okay, so we're getting ahead of ourselves. You and I know your story, and you and I know what you're showing off, but the people on the Brew in the chat,
there you go,
maybe have not met you before or seen you before. So let's go back to the beginning. Why don't you tell people your origin story, how you got into comics? Things that influenced you, and then ultimately what made you pull the trigger and make your own comics.
Sure. So I'm an artist. That's my day gig. And, I've always been creative and certainly always, appreciated art, and particularly what it did for my life. I could say without exaggerating that art literally saved my life. I can say that in a lot of cases. I'm not exaggerating when I tell you that. And so as I started thinking back to that, I really started with graffiti when I was younger, and with graffiti writing, but not a writer. There's a difference. The writer is the one that actually writes on the walls, and they spray paint. The subway, they make beautiful art. I'm more of an artist, where I took that aesthetic and made it mine. And it really started with my aunt, who lived in the Lower East Side in the city. And I would visit her during the summer times. I'm around maybe 10 or 11, and I remember going to visit her because I'm from a suburb outside of it. And that's the first time I got in contact with kind of like the birth of the hip hop culture. I saw my first graffiti train that came in front of me. I'll never forget it to this day. It still sends shivers up my spine, because when I see it, it really was transformative. I saw the aesthetic, I saw the colors, I saw the contrast between light and dark, and I said, this is me that I'm seeing here. So a lot of that growing up within that really helps me to it helped with the story, because as I was going older, as I was tagging, one of the characters I would make would be this robot. And at that point, he was called ZNK. He wasn't called Zed. And so he was something that I always thought about. So now fast forward, and this is really how I got into the comic game. Right around COVID, I decided, every year I'm going to start a project, and that project I'm going to start in January. And I'm going to take a whole year to work on it. And at the end of the year, I'm going to have a metric to prove if I'm successful or not. So I said, I'm going to take all my graffiti art and I'm going to make it digital. and I'm going to open up an Instagram account. Never done that before. Never really been on any kind of social media. So I opened up, and the goal was to have 1,000 organic followers by the end of the year with all of my graffiti work. So I ended up, so I started my graffiti site. I took all my old pieces. One of them I have up here. I would digitize it. I'd create it in Adobe Illustrator. I would use some Photoshop, you know. And as the years going on, I'm picking up these, you know, followers. I'm building a great community, and it is awesome. And I started remembering the story. And so I actually, in that website, in Instagram, I actually have the first 5 panels that I drew of this story, which is exactly, you know, what you find in the comic book.
Cool.
And it received so much great attention. And I knew that there was a much more of the story to it. I said, you know what? I think I know what my project next year is, you know. So that end of the year finishes. I get my 1,000 followers. Excellent. I did good. What's the new project going to be? Well, I really would love to work on this story, and originally thought of it as a movie script. So I'm going to create a movie script. Now, I know nothing, Laurie, about writing in general. So what I did, I went YouTube. I went to YouTube. I read books. I read, you know, Save the Cat, one of my favorite books.
Oh, I love that one.
Yes. Teaches you about, you know, story arcs and the 3-act structure, all of that, you know. And I started writing this as a movie. And so it started working so well because I took the whole year to do it that I actually made a little animated movie of it.
Did you
that
really?
I drew, that I have. And
you animated it?
It's 2D, use a lot of like Ken Burns effects and stuff like that.
Yeah, okay.
But so it's really, but it's moving, it's got a soundtrack and everything. And I actually shared it on George's show. Cool. It's really fascinating where it came from. Yeah, I'll send you it too.
Yeah.
And so at that point, you know, that year ended. I finished my movie script. I had my little mini animated movie. And it's like, what am I going to do next? Well, that's when everyone basically said, Eddie, this would really lend well to a comic book. The way it moves, you're already kind of drawing the panels within this animation. I think it would be the next logical step. So I had to take this movie script. The new year begins, which was this year. I had to put it into a comic script because there's certainly a difference between a movie script and a comic script. And so we spent time doing that. And then I knew I wasn't a sequential artist, so I needed to find a really good sequential artist, which I did. I vetted some people. I found, luckily for me, Lucas Assis. He's the main main artist in the book. And then there's a colorist called G Sabino. They're both from Brazil. And so, you know, and also it's a different kind of way of working because I wasn't just going to hand my script over to the artist and have them go at it. You know, I really needed to be involved because, especially since I already drew the panels and stuff. So I needed people to have a little patience with me, you know. So, but thank goodness it paid off because everything from that point that we
all
did,
artists and writers have to have patience with each other because we all have this idea of what we want our story to look like. And so the key is to find that artist that's willing to maybe has some intuition about it. Like that's step one. Like you're producing art that looks like what you're seeing, but also is willing to listen when you're like, hey, this needs to be there, or this needs to be this, or that needs to be darker or lighter, whatever, because of the mood. So it's so hard to, but it's once you find that person, it's an easy conversation because you can work well, but finding that person, I think, is the hard part.
Well, that's the part. That's the true beauty of collaboration, then, because you do. People got to let go, right? You know, I have my ideas, they do too, but everyone lets go to kind of come with some kind of common thing, and something that gets created that none of you could have created on your own. It needed to be collaborated, and that's exactly what I felt here. That it was really a perfect marriage of their years of expertise in comic artistry and my years of graffiti creating, and it really just melded well. You know,
I'll have to tell you a story later on about issue 5 and what happened with our collaboration. But
good. Okay, I'll make sure we won't forget it. You know, so at that point, we started getting the artists, and that's where I started getting into the indie scene. As I'm creating this comic book, listening to you, listen to Catch the Craze, and listening to
great show,
and of course Written Ralph. You know, one of my biggest supporters, one of my biggest at this point, a friend. And so it's getting into this community, which has by far been one of the most loving, open armed communities out there. And I always tell people, Laura, certainly don't take that for granted, because especially in the world that we're living in, there's so much divisiveness and so many people that are competitive. But what a refreshing place to know that, you know, there's a community here that really helps each other, you know. And I'm doing it too. You know, I'm not going to be, you know, just taking. I want to give also. And I've helped plenty of people, like the Pond Brothers cover. I helped create that with the belt. You know?
That's cool.
And because I want to help too and be part of this community, because that's how kick-ass this community is, you know.
I agree. And I feel that way as well. Like I did my fair share of asking questions when I started, and I feel Christopher Brown, you guys know him from Laughing Rogue, but I asked him probably 6,000 questions when I was running my first Kickstarter.
Wow, yeah. Kind of like I asked you.
Right. No, but I mean, like, so that's why it's like, I needed that too. So I understand when people come to me like, hey, how do I tackle a survey? And I'm like, oh, let me help you.
Yeah.
You know, it's no big deal. We want to pay it forward. Hi, Matthew. Good morning.
Hey, Matt.
Hi, David, by the way. David here says that he also teaches graffiti and illustration. Man. So you guys should talk. Because
go over to my site, my Instagram site, ZNK238 on Instagram. That'd be great. Love to connect with you. Teach graffiti. That's great. I remember teaching middle school kids that in a summer class.
Middle school?
Doing that. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah. Teaching them bubble letters. So it's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. But yes, you know, in terms of the community again, you know, and I figured it out, Laurie. I figured out now my tour. Remember, you had my party, my coming out party. And then I had probably maybe 35 shows, 30 shows. Yeah. I went through the whole scene.
That's
so now
how you do it.
There you go. So you taught me well. See, Yoda, you taught your apprentice well. You taught me well.
I remember my first campaign. I was like, how many interviews did I do before I got funded? I think I did 29 interviews before I got funded. I think we got funded like 5 days before the end of campaign. So I did about that many as well. So it's just, you just got to stay busy and visible. And when you have a good product, people will come, and they do.
They do. Yep. And thankfully, again, back to the community in terms of open arms, people are having me back just like you are right now to ensure that I meet my goal or reach some kind of set goal. So that's really cool. But I figured out why. I finally figured out why this community is so kick-ass and so loving and all that. And really bond together. All right. And you ready for this, Laurie? You ready for my 30 things from
yes.
This is the reason why. Okay, this is the
I'm
reason
listening.
Why. It's because all of us have this primal need to give either a message or a story, right? And whether our message inside is a story, it's a comic book, it's a novel, it's a lyric, it's a poem. All of us have this thing. Hey, Lupin, there he is. There she is. Yeah, oh my goodness. Yeah. So, I mean, and all of us have this primal need to tell a story. And I think that's what we're doing. We're supporting each other to tell that story. Because at the end of the day, it's going to make everything better. It'll make the world better, to help us get better understanding. It's not going to fix everything completely, but at least during this journey, we'll be smiling a little bit more. You know, how about that?
I agree. I agree. And it's, you know, the story is so important for people just to get out of their own head for a little bit. You know, when everything was going down after the election, I was like, I don't care what side you're on. Go read some comics.
That's it right now. Good point.
Go get out of your head for a little bit, you know, forget what's going on in the world and just read some comics and go walk around someone else's world and forget about it for a little bit. Everybody needed a break from that, you know? So
Yep. I agree.
So I was like, read more comics.
But stories like yours help that, you know. I
don't know.
Well,
look actually familiar.
Well, yeah, I didn't even think about that, right? Yeah. You know, you're right. No, but the fact that it puts you into, even though it is, you're right, a zombie apocalypse world, it does take you away from where you are, especially the way your panels are. I got so much to talk to you about your story. Oh my goodness, the first one, there's tons going on there, and I love it.
Oh, I want to see what Pop said real quick. There's a lot more indie nation than there is community. Reach out farther, Eddie. This is the first I've ever seen you. Well, Eddie's newer.
Okay.
Yeah. And you have
Pop. Well, I know Pops. Yeah. I know Pops. Yeah. I see him all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll do Pops. Yep.
Yeah. So in other words, this is the beginning of your journey. Welcome to the community. There's so many more shows for you to go on and introduce yourself to the people. Sure. That's what he was saying. Now, what were you saying? You're going to ask me.
So your story really, it's so many stories, but probably the biggest one is why did you have to? This is issue 1, so it's not like
go ahead. Okay. We've talked spoilers about issue 1. Everybody knows what happens.
That horse is beautiful. So why kill off Prince in the very first one? Now I was thinking about it because it's around the end, right? And so certainly you see, you know, the connection between him and his horse, and boy, it really gets at you. You know, it really tugs at me to know that. And because I don't know the backstory of how long they've been together, the adventures they went through. Maybe I'll see it in 3, 4, 5, maybe glimpses of it. But boy, what a way to open up the comic, man.
Because we were dropping people into that world, I wanted them to know how dangerous it was. One, the zombie bear illustrates that it's not just people, that it's animals as well.
Yes.
And bears scare the out of me, Eddie.
Right.
Because they can climb trees, they can run fast, they can
they're
swim.
powerful. Oh,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? They're an
Mhm.
apex predator. And if you can't kill it, how do you get away from this thing?
Yeah,
So this
but-
was a
yeah.
threat that he could not beat.
Mhm.
And it was his fault. You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
happened. And so I wanted to show people that this world was unforgiving
Mhm.
and that small decisions have major consequences.
Wow. Yeah.
And so the
And
bear
right off
chase
the bat-
was, I was like, this is it. This is how we open. This is the world.
Right.
You know, you pick up a glass and destroy your life. That's it.
Yeah. And you
You
just
know?
show something or someone that's very important to you. In this case, you know, his horse. You know, that's crazy.
Because Laurie is fueled by the tears of her readers. Funny story about that. We're going to talk about issue 5. There's a
Yes.
moment. I'm going to spoil
Okay.
just a little thing for you guys.
Okay. Okay.
There's a character named Lola,
Mhm.
which you have all met in issue 4, and she's back in issue 5, but she's quite different. And at this point, she is past being friends. She's undead, right? And the undead and the living are basically having this eternal clash because the living are tired of the undead antics. They're chaotic, they're dangerous, and they've been separating them, right? So that's where we were in issue 4, is they're separating the living from the undead. And so Lola's back in issue 5, and she's done with the living's BS, and she's pulling people out of buildings, and she's lining them up in the street, and she's shooting them. So speaking of collaboration, so Gilbert, our new artist, is reading the script, and he's drawing this scene, and there's people there, but he drew a puppy.
Oh boy.
So he drew a puppy, and the puppy is there the entire scene. And when we get to the very last panel, I said, "Don't forget to shoot the dog." And he was like, "What?"
I didn't want to be shot. You kidding me? That's probably what he's thinking.
He was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "It's Lola. Did you not read the room?" I'm like, "She would shoot the dog." And so the Facebook group, our Path of the Pale Rider group, I made them name this dog. So they named the dog Sad Pancake. So there's a panel in there where Sad Pancake meets his demise. But don't worry, you see Sad Pancake in other places coming up. So I just wanted to say collaboration happens. Like, that dog was not originally in our script, and I blame Gilbert. So when you guys get to that moment and you have your tears, and I will drink them, it's Gilbert's fault, and he owns it, but he's also will never ever draw puppies into a scene where they don't.
That's it, because he knows what's going to happen. He knows what's going to happen now. Well, let me ask you, Laurie, and you don't have to be specific here. Matter of fact, I prefer you just be vague about it, you know, because this is something I always ask artists, you know, like when I meet, sometimes I can meet famous people or artists and stuff like that. And I always wonder, like in your case, right, with all your issues that you went through, is there anything that you wish you didn't do in those? And you don't have to reveal it, but is there anything that as you look back, you say, you know what, maybe I shouldn't have did that, or maybe I should have changed that, you know?
I don't want to know. Don't come for me. It's not Sad Pancake is not a real dog, okay?
John Wick.
No going John Wick on Laurie, because Sad Pancake. Remember, in this world, Sad Pancake is still running around. He's just got a hole through him. I don't think there was any one thing in our comic that I wouldn't do.
Okay.
Cool. No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Excellent. Because some people can go back, especially like an artist that's been working on pieces for you. And I do it myself, even like pieces that, my artwork, I'll come back and say, wow, why did I use that kind of green? I should have used this, And, so I was curious as a writer and certainly
we remastered brand, we remastered issue 1 a few times. Like first I re-lettered it, and then we did it in color. Okay. And then I changed to the journal page. There used to be this quote page in the front, and I was picking, quotes that I thought represented the issue just from anywhere: pop culture, poetry, prose. And then I had these 3 symbols on the page, which means something. Right. And so if you have one of the original black and whites with those symbols, you're going to see them again. Okay. However, I had someone read issue 1, and they were like, so wait, what happens? People are dead, but they're not dead. Everybody, like, they were confused that the zombies were not quite the same as like 28 Days Later or George
Right.
Romero zombies.
Right.
And so we changed it to journal pages where I could do a little bit of
Right.
explaining, especially for that issue 1, which is so important when
Yeah.
people pick up Path, for them to
Mhm.
understand that it isn't zombies, it's death is broken.
Right. Right.
So
Perfect.
that's why we switched to that. But
Cool.
I
Okay.
work those symbols in other places if you pay attention.
Right. Right. Real dope. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool.
What's going on in the chat? She regrets doing it all, meaning us has ruined her. I don't think so. For normal people, that is. No, I'm happy. I like where our story is, and it's like we're at that part where it's going to take off. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Right.
it's funny, we were talking about movies and you talked about Save the Cat, because that's one of the first things I read too.
Yeah.
When I was getting into script writing. And if people don't know what that concept is, tell them what Save the Cat is, because I think it's awesome.
Yeah, no. Save the Cat is where you got to have something in the story, right? Where at least, your main protagonist is in the situation where is he in a position to save a cat that's in a tree, right? At least this is the way that I took it. So if you see a cat up in the tree, that is like such a symbolic thing. Like all of us, if we're walking down the street, we see a cat up in the tree, we know that it needs help, right? And that's really the essence of the story. Who helps? Why do they help?
Right.
How do they help? And ultimately, does the cat really want help too? Is another one too that I've heard in terms of theories. Great book though. Great book.
Yeah. And I use it as an example of showing people who your character is without exposition. Because if there's a cat from a tree, hanging in a tree, and your protagonist is like, oh, I need to help them. It's showing you what they would do. If they walk past, they look at it and they just keep walking. That's a decision.
Correct.
You know what I mean? If they throw a rock at it and keep going, that's a decision, right? And so you're telling people about this character based off of their actions as opposed to, describing them. You know what I mean?
Correct. Yep.
And so I think that is much more powerful in character building than, telling a story or things happening to them. You know what I mean? It's a matter of walking the plank and falling into someone else making them walk the plank.
Right.
Or if they themselves walk the plank and jump off. You know what I mean? There's a difference because the decision that's made. Anyway.
And a lot of these things elicit emotions, right? That's what story's about. And particularly with the main protagonist, that's what they are. Hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
The main protagonist is creating these emotions,
Say again?
Oh, no, I'm just saying it's about emotions and what you can bring out of that emotion.
Yeah.
You're right. Without any dialogue, if you were to see both those pictures that you just explained, the person walking past the dog or the person going up and actually, walking past the cat in the tree and the person going up to the tree.
Helping sad pancake.
Yes, without any word. Sad pancake, exactly.
Right, and then there's Lola who shoots the dog.
And in either case, it's going to elicit some kind of emotion. And, I think it's Maya Angelou that said that people don't really remember the exact words you say. They only remember how you made them feel. Okay.
Yes.
And that's what this is. How does these things make you feel?
How do you make
And that certainly
feel
helps them in the
feelings?
story. Yep.
Yeah.
That's
and
what the lasting impression
characters.
is.
And like in my issue 1, it's like people were connected to the horse, even though this is issue 1. You have no idea. You know what I mean?
Right.
That was so important to me, is to build that relationship. And like Jude St. Clair telling the little girl her actual name was Diana Prince. So it's like then you have a connection to her based off of her name.
Yeah.
The little girl has feelings there and giggling. Oh, I love the horse, and then I murder the horse. So
and there was one scene, like I think, Jude St. Clair's talking to Prince and he said something and she looks back and she just has this emotion on her. I forgot what it was, but it was something like she understood and she looks back at him and kind of like, I understand. It's like, so that connection right away is like, okay, these guys are connected. So to get rid of them, oh my goodness.
He gave her shoes for her as an early birthday present too. So stuff like that. It's like, that's that emotional connection. Like you would buy your lady shoes for her birthday.
Yep. That's it. It's amazing. But I mean, even before that, I think the opening scene, right? He sees like the little kid, and he's got the apparatus on his chest, and wait, you gotta tell me, and that's so cool. That little device that tells him who's a zombie and who's not, who's living and who's not. How'd you think of that?
I wanted to make sure there was some kind of device. Hold on, Matthew. I'll answer that in a second. There was some kind of device because, again, if the undead are walking and talking and thinking, the government would want to have something to differentiate.
Right.
And if they're going to start taking, separating the two populations, it needs to be, okay, as soon as you're undead, you need to be gone. So what's the difference between the two? And then I was like, it's the heartbeat. The heartbeat, as soon as they stop, the heart stops, that's when you're considered undead. And so I was like, well, then we have to have heart monitors on the outside.
A visual ones, visual,
Visual, audio, because it has the heartbeat. Like when you activate it, it goes boom, 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 boom with the heart.
Right.
And then it has the color indication, so red or green, and then it has the EKG line.
Right.
So and then of course for the undead, it turns red, it flatlines, and it alarms, and it won't stop alarming until it's on a heartbeat again. So if you're undead and you activate it and it starts to alarm, you can't turn it off. They just come. You know what I mean?
Right. Correct.
Just try and get you. But the problem with those
off though, right? They could just take it off if they wanted to, right? Or
it's still alarming. Yeah.
Right. But it's still going. I got you. They'll find
it. Or you break it, but I mean, again, these are government issued technology, so they're cheap. They probably malfunction, and then we hack them. So they're hackable. So now you have another problem because you have undead walking around with green discs.
Right.
So I mean, it's so you can go so deep.
I love it. Love the world of it. Cool.
Yes, you can. So death is the body dying is the same. So you can suffocate, you can get run over by a car, you can die of cancer. It's all the same. So does it die then? Oh, you're saying like if they're already undead and you burn them up into ashes? That's complicated, but they're still there. There's consequences. So no, it doesn't die. There is no death. But we'll get to that later in the story. I promise. I answered all the questions. I just, I can't put them all in the beginning. As long as there is something left, it is alive. Yep. See, Pops, we're moving undead. Not sure. We've had Pops has showed up in my DMs like, so what happens with plants and what happens with this? And I've been thinking about that. So that's one thing that I love about Path is that it makes people think.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But enough about me. Let's talk about End of Zed.
Okay.
Speaking of another apocalypse, because I love apocalypse, right?
What's apocalypse like? It takes place in 82, but certainly where he lands, it looks very apocalypse, Yeah. Takes place in 82, yeah. Yeah, he crash lands in 1982. He has no memory. He's badly damaged. He lands in the middle of the South Bronx, which in New York City history is one of the most craziest times in the city's history. Not only did he see the beginnings of the crack epidemic, which was, kind of started in New York and then ended up taking the whole nation real quick, the crack epidemic, unfortunately, but also saw the birth of the hip hop generation, saw the birth of hip hop rap, saw the birth of graffiti, even though graffiti's been around, but that kind of graffiti kind of took a different birth. And then of course, fashion, right? So all these things come into play, and in fashion, exactly.
In the 80s, it was wild.
Yes. So this is his backdrop. He has to, as he's navigating all this, he's badly damaged, no memory. So as he's going through everything, he will eventually find out his origins, and then ultimately he's going to find out what his purpose is here. And I think that's the part that really intrigued me the most. Even back when Fox was aka the Bronx, I hear you, Lupas. But that's always the thing that always intrigued me, Laurie, was programming, and that's kind of really the germ of the story. It's like, I think about us when we were younger, certainly we were born with blank programming, we'll call it, right? And then, our parents, our first ones are the first ones to kind of tell us what the world is about. They may point to a certain, kind of person or the environment or a government, and they'll say, okay, and they'll give us their opinions of what it is. And they'll try to program us with their programming. And then as we get older, of course, the media does the same. The media will tell us, okay, this is, the media will definitely kind of define what it's trying to tell you, what the kind of world is that you're looking at. But somewhere along the lines, we're going to have to, all of us came through wisdom or through time, we have to come with our own decisions of what we feel about what really is going on in the world. And that's what this is. He comes with blank programming and he sees things coming in front of him, both good and bad. And it's starting to fill in his program. So, and that's ultimately what's going to help him make a decision later on. That's when he finds out about his origin in terms of of how he feels about humans. Like I'll give you an example. He when he lands, he actually has a little CPU computer that actually kind of lays out for him what he sees, but it lays out for him in very basic terms. So the first thing he sees is a human being, like unfortunately a drug addict that's in a phone booth. And the computer goes over the human, and the computer tells him, well, this is a human being. They're the dominant species on this planet. They're the masters of this place. They are smart. They're this, and that. They're talented and all of that. They're creative and so forth. And then so now Zed says, wow, this is a human. They're the masters of this universe. What is going on here? What do you mean they are? And then the first thing that happens, he sees a drug deal. He sees a drug dealer come up to this man. And then he gets a close-up. His computer gets a close-up of the money. And then the computer defines money, saying this is currency. This is used for trades by humans. And then it focuses in on the crack veil and goes, these are drugs. This causes so much issues with families. It causes violence. It causes this. And now Zed sits back and goes, whoa, why would another human give that to another human? So his programming now is getting filled with what he sees and what he witnesses. And in that short moment, he's starting to get a glance of what he thinks humans are. And unfortunately for us, he's going to be in a position where he's going to have to, he may want to get rid of us, based on what he sees. He could very well go, okay, you guys are really just some really bad people. And, maybe I'm here to destroy this place. Maybe that's what I'm here for. So he ends up
scary.
Yeah, no. Yeah. And you don't know which way he's going to turn.
I was going to say, does he have the ability to destroy?
Well, he lands, right? And he's completely broken. So he doesn't. But what happens is, so now this is his first interaction. On his second interaction, right? He actually he's falling, he's broken, he gets chased by these things, which I won't reveal. And he sees a block party. Okay. Matter of fact, it's actually in my comic. I can actually show you it because it's clearly one of the biggest parts of the book. All right. So now he gets chased by this thing, and here he is right now on top. And he's looking through the fence. He's like, wow, this place is wild. And he sees these silhouettes here, right?
Yeah.
And he looks at one of the silhouettes and he goes, oh, I know why I'm here for. I'm here to save this dude because it's a guy with a helmet, right? Just like me. I'm here. I'm on a mission to rescue this dude from this violent, selfish planet. But when he pans back, it's not a guy with a helmet. It's actually a DJ with an afro the size of his helmet, okay? And the computer tells him he's human, basically functioning, and he's basically a DJ. And he goes, oh, this isn't an Alliance operative. And then, nope, this guy's actually a DJ to a party. And then now the party gets started. And this is the first time that Zed feels the power of music and the power of unity.
Cool.
And he sees all these humans, he thinks that the DJ is controlling them, And this is really the start of him healing himself. Because what happens here, he was going to get powers from that. And now his ears are going to be completely healed. And things with like watching graffiti, his cracked shield and vision will get completely healed. So it has a lot to do with me. These are things that healed me and certainly in my life. And that's what's going to happen with that. And this is where he gets his powers. But again, as he's journeying through this environment, he'll have to start thinking, okay, how worthy are these humans? They had got the good, they also got the bad. But as he's getting more powerful, oh my gosh, forget it. He may have to put the squeeze on some people, and so that's what makes it interesting.
That's interesting. We didn't talk about that the last time we were on the show together. Is what Zed will do at the end. What is he capable of doing?
Correct.
Based off of his decisions and his experiences. That's interesting.
Absolutely.
And you were talking about programming, but one of the things that I always find super interesting in story writing is choice.
Yes.
How people make choices, the choices that are presented, and then ultimately the path that they go down is super interesting to me. So
sure. Me too. And then you'll be interested in the story because certainly everything that he will experience, he's going to have to make some very hard decisions that, and with that, he's going to find out really why he's here. One of the first things that happens when he lands is that a timer gets set off on him. And he sees this timer. He's like, oh, I only got 4 hours, but for what? And he doesn't know. So, and that's what this cover is really all about. The cover is about him racing against time and him racing against some nefarious things, that are going to go down.
Things. But then again, like, who sent him and from where? Is it a different place in
Yes.
time, or is it a different space, or is it
Yep.
you know what I mean? Like, there's so
Yep.
many different questions that I'm
Well,
looking
a lot
forward
of the
to
answers to that,
finding.
Laurie's actually in his character design.
Ah,
When he came down, I didn't want him looking like Voltron or like a Transformer where he's super high tech. And I think his little beacon on top of his head reveals that he could be from an older
80s.
robotic. It could be from an older robotic time. Think back, to who was making robots with little things on the heads. It goes back maybe 40s, 50s. So it's a lot of origin in the story.
Interesting.
So, and the character design was probably one of my favorite things. People really dig the character, and so do I. It's very simplistic. Actually, that's the way it's written. Nicer, Lupin. I hear that. And then he's simplistic in design, exactly how I wrote it in the movie script. He's simplistic in design, but he's very complex internally.
Yeah.
And in his case, that had to be.
Ooh, if that isn't a description for a human being, right there. Simple by design, but complex inside.
Yes,
that's you and me and all of us.
And again, a lot of me's in him. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Yeah, so the character design was really great to do. It took me over 3 months to do it. And then talk about collaboration when I got Lucas in on it. Because if you go back to my internet, my graffiti site on Instagram, I actually have the first 5 panels that I drew of him, and he looks like this. But boy, did Lucas really help me bring him to another level. Another level.
I wanted to play the video real quick because I love the music in it too.
Cool.
I think it has music. Sometimes it doesn't. So you guys in the chat, let me know if you can hear. Okay.
My name is Eddie Lema, and I'm the creator of End of Zed, a project I've been working on for years. The story follows a robot who crash lands in the Bronx in 1982, severely damaged and with no memory, as he navigates one of the city's most turbulent times, shaped by the rise of the crack epidemic. He also discovers the powerful, positive force of hip-hop.
Where am I? Party people, are we ready? 3, 2, 1.
End of Zed isn't just another comic. It fuses the rebellious energy of New York City with a gripping dystopian narrative. This story delivers visually striking action and powerful themes. If you're into bold, unapologetic storytelling, then the End of Zed is for you. By backing this project, you're not only helping bring Zed's story to life, but you'll gain access to exclusive rewards. I can't wait for all of you to experience Zed's world. Back my project today and become part of this amazing journey.
Oh, haha. Thank you, Lou, for letting me know sound is good. And yes, that, my friends, is how you do a video. It's short and sweet, has good music, great visuals, and some words from the creator. That's a video to emulate. And how
I guess it would have been better to have the creator in the video, probably, right? Isn't that like best practice to kind of put in?
I mean, sure, but I mean, when you have a minute, it's like you can do what you can do, right? So I think your video is great. I really enjoyed it. That's one of the first things when you're like, can you look at my campaign? I was like, your video is great. So
awesome. Appreciate it. How was your first video? Do you remember? Was it a video? Was it the first campaign?
I don't even remember.
Okay.
I'm sure I did a video. It was probably me in a cowboy hat telling people Path of the Pale Rider is great. Please back us.
Cool.
I don't remember. It was after that the video started to get crazy, running over with cars, and
I love it.
I had a bar fight in one. Like my husband came in and pushed me off a stool, and like I had like bear wounds on my face and bleeding and good times. And then came the chicken nuggets, and then it's a thing now.
Like I said, you create an experience with the best tagline in the indie industry, as far as I'm concerned. Death is broken. That is 3 words, and it says it all. Love it. Very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's so hard to come up with that stuff too. And you're doing like your pitch and your log line, and like, gosh, I don't know how many times all of us have sat there and just stared at a blank screen like, what am I supposed to say?
Right. Right.
I don't know.
No,
So
but
this is one of the things that caught me the first time I was looking through your campaign as well. I was like, wait a minute, you have zombies?
right.
And then we
There
were
you
talking about,
go.
you're like, no, it's not quite zombies, but it looks like zombies to Zed because they're crack addicts. And I was like, wow,
Yeah.
that's funny.
Yep. And his vision's not 100% either. You know, he's got the crack in his thing. So things will get exaggerated, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a cool scene, you know, because he follows after that drug scene. He follows him into the crack house, and then they look like zombies to him, you know?
Yeah.
And some people might even say, you know, unfortunately, people that are in that position can be zombie-like, unfortunately, you know? So, but this is his first interaction with everything, you know? Then, of course, the skyline and of course, the Trade Center, and anyone who's, you know, certainly New Yorkers know the significance of that, you know?
Well, and it helps set the time so we know that it's,
Mhm.
you know, before 2001.
Right. Correct. Yep. Yep. And he comes in and color, and I tell you, colors and particularly how they work in darkness. Like you can see here the flames, the way they reflect in the water, reflect off his, you know, his armor here, his equipment. Really, I love the way it works, and these guys really hit it. You know, G Sabina, the
Yeah.
colorist, really hit it well. Super important. You know, basically, my story is going to be a mashup of Wild Robot and the Warriors. I don't know if you remember the movie The Warriors. That's what this is. Where that's a great way of putting it. Where and just like the Warriors, this all will take place in one night, and he will, you know, and like the Warriors, he's running against things in time. So yeah, good connection, good combination there.
Glenn says, I'm with you, Laurie. I've been staring at my drawing board for almost a year and not much has come off of it in that time. Not good. Yeah, I mean, creativity blocks stink, man. Sometimes you just look at open space and you're like, I need to fill this with something amazing, and nothing comes. So
It does, yeah.
that's
Sometimes
why.
it's better just to walk away and just, you know, give yourself a break, right? And when you come back,
Yeah, or go participate with the community. Sometimes, you know, other creators can be a sounding board and be like, well, why, you know, have you thought about this? A lot of times I just ask one question and be like, well, Eddie, what about this? And you're
Right.
like, oh, you know, and then off we all go. You know what I mean? I get
Yes.
that from other people as well. Like, hey, Laurie, what about this? And I'm like,
Right.
I'm totally doing that. So
Nice. Yeah, no, I think you have to. I think all of us. I mean, I don't think anyone goes smoothly 100% all the time. We always got pauses and things that we, you know.
yeah, that's
Yep.
life.
Yep. There you go. Especially when you're busy.
Right. All right, guys. So there are 2 covers available for issue 1. And I love how these are like night and day, rain versus sun,
Yes.
you know, like danger and action. And
Mhm.
they just, they complement each other so well. So,
Yeah, I dig it too. The artist who helped me with
yeah.
the Harrow cover, he's the artist that created the character. He's originally from New York, but now he's out in LA, and he's got such a beautiful style and aesthetic to him. I would recommend everyone to go see his site, Harrow, Haro. And I created the actually End of Zed graffiti emblem logo because a lot of people were asking for that, especially in the graffiti community where I have my site. They're basically saying, yeah, let's get a nice tag in there to see how it would look like.
Yeah.
So I originally wanted the whole kind of comic to be stylized in the way that he did it. And if he wasn't busy, he probably would have did the whole comic that way for me, you know. But again, I think a lot of things, you know, are like kismet or something. I don't know. Just
Yeah.
things work out in certain ways because, you know, when I found the artist, Lucas, who did the original one, it was like perfect timing for him. He had the time to do it and everything. So it's amazing how one thing, it could have went one way or another, you know. So yeah.
Here's the link, everybody. It's right here on the screen. So if you just go to Kickstarter and look up End of Zed, this campaign will pop up and you can follow along with the class.
Yes.
We go through. Yeah, I already picked mine here. I got the
Yes.
signed one,
Yes.
but there's PDFs available, guys. We have PDF digital. We have cover A, cover B, both available in physical copy. We have signed copies. That's what I wanted.
Cool.
And then there's some really cool stickers. Look at these guys. So there's different covers. I love the one with the little tag too.
Yes, that's actually a
That's my favorite.
holographic sticker. Yeah. Yes, it's
Ooh,
got a little bit more extra shininess to it. A little more
fancy.
reflection. Yeah.
Yeah,
I tell you, I love stickers. I
I
tell
do
you,
too.
I just the design of it. And one of the reasons I love it is because you have such a small thing for a layout. So however you lay it out, you better make sure you lay it out right because you don't have much real estate. And people
Right.
do it well, man. People do it really well in terms of
Yeah.
the layout for their stickers. There's only 3 inches, right? A little bit
Right.
more than three. So yeah.
But the vinyl ones are always so nice. I love them. You could stick them on anything,
Yes.
mugs
Yes.
and cars, and people stick them on all sorts of stuff. Phones.
Yes.
And this is smart too. This is a retail bundle set.
Yeah.
So if you are a retail store and you would like a wholesale price, here you go. You have that option to put a few copies on the shelf. And this one is so cool too, you guys. So there's a master graffiti set for $250. You take it away, Eddie. You tell them.
Yeah, so there's actually someone that's going to come through on one of these, and I'm still waiting. So I told him I'm going to shame him if he doesn't do it in the next couple of days and start saying his name on these podcast shows. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, he's going to do it. And what it is, it's really cool, is that I'm going to create a full tag, a full colorful, just like the End of Zed graffiti logo there. That's going to put it on a train. There's 4 places that have some really big real estate that I'm going to put it in. And so the person will have their name immortalized in the comic. And they'll not only get that, but they'll also get everything else. To get the signed copies, they'll get the PDFs, and they'll get the stickers for their support, So yes, yeah. And a matter of fact, I'm so sure he's going to do it. I already started it. So if you're listening, I started it already,
Cool. And Pity Ma says, I wish I had the money for the graffiti tag, but where in the Bronx does the story take place?
Excellent question. He lands in Charlotte Avenue. That's where all that desolation was, And what's interesting is that when I first did this, and I first sent out a couple of copies to friends and stuff, those that weren't from New York, they mentioned, Eddie, that's kind of unrealistic, dude. And I go, well, what do you mean? He goes, he can't land in the middle of a city and no one were to hear him. Well, if you look up 1982 South Bronx in YouTube, you will see that they had blocks and blocks, close to about 8 to 9 blocks of pure desolation like this. I am not exaggerating. Watch the videos and you'll see. So the story is actually very historical. I wanted to make sure that I stood close to the history, and particularly with the Bronx. So he lands in the South Bronx, Charlotte Avenue to be specific, but he will start moving. He will start trekking. He'll practically hit all the boroughs of New York before everything comes into play. Yeah, because he's got a place to go. He'll eventually find out, and it will take him throughout the city.
So how many books do you have planned in this series for End of Zed?
I'm so glad you asked that. We were talking about last night with the editor, coincidentally, and
Yeah.
originally it was going to be 4, but we may very well make it 3 because there's things that we're doing that as we're editing this, it could probably land better in a 3-parter than a 4-parter. So more to come on that. Definitely 3, either 3 or 4. It'd be one of those.
Gotcha. Yeah. Sometimes that's the pacing is hard. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's like, especially when you're taking something that was meant as a full-length movie and you're trying to adapt it to a different medium. It's like, where do the cutoffs happen? But I mean, 4 makes sense, but also 3 does too, because in a movie you have act 1, 2, and 3.
Correct.
So
that's what I'm thinking of too. And listen, I think whatever works best is what I'm going to do. So whether it's 4 or 3, it'll be. But I just finished reading your second one. Remember how you end yours, and now it's the modern times. It's the first time you see the apocalypse go down, and then you see the person coming to help him, and he's
that's Jude.
Jude.
Yeah,
and that's how you end it. And I'm like, wait a minute, isn't this the? I had
to drop you in there, and I love. I'm terrible, Eddie, because I'm always like, "Hey, look at this thing!" And
right now, but boy, you once I'm done with the show, I'm gonna read 3 because that's what it makes you do. So I think a lot of my story is that too. We're starting to see that it makes more sense. It gives you more of those cliffhangers because it's certainly a cool cliffhanger at the end of 1 we could definitely do it even better in 2, and then 3 really concludes. So yeah, I think it'll be 3, and hopefully be as cool as your issue, your second edition, your second issue, because that was cool. That was
Sorry.
cool. Yeah.
Matthew would
28.
like to know 28. Okay. 28 pages.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah, 28.
We do have some stretch goals coming up, and reward number 1 is right around the corner, right?
Yes.
Because we're at 1676, so almost there, you guys. We have 8 days left. We could definitely make that.
Sure.
And I went too far.
Yep.
I'm sorry, guys.
Okay.
So the first one is a 5x7 print of the cover art, free to all physical backers. Super cool.
And what's cool is the print quality is going to be amazing on it. And what I did was I
Yeah.
took the logo out of the moon section so you could really appreciate the art of the scene. You know, the composition on this poster is just amazing. You
It's
know,
beautiful.
and it had to tell a story. You know, in
Perspective.
terms of what's he running from, the perspective.
Yeah.
If you notice, right, the world's kind of shifted a little bit.
Yeah.
The
It's
boarded
off
up thing.
kilter.
Yes.
But he's
yes,
looking behind him, which I mean,
Yep.
like the alleyway itself is that nice diagonal that takes your
Yes.
eye through the composition.
Correct.
And then the moon with the shoes. The shoes
That's a big one.
is the big one. You know what I
Yep.
mean? So he's
That's
kind of
it.
looking over his shoulder, which takes your eyes to the shoes. So it's like,
Yes.
oh, what's going on here?
And there's significance to the shoes. You know, it's interesting of how another podcast shows, you know, it's from people from Detroit, or I
Nice.
did one that was in LA. It's like, it's interesting that certain neighborhoods have a significance with sneakers that are hanging on the wire. I don't know if you know that. So if you
No,
see
what is the
neighborhoods with sneakers on the wire,
significance of that?
yes, there's a couple of significance based on where you are in the city. And I'm learning new ones since
Really?
I've been doing this. Yeah. In some cases, it marks drug territory. That's one that I heard.
Mm.
Second cases, it's an homage to anyone in the neighborhood that's passed away. So it's kind of like
Oh.
symbolically thrown it there, you know.
Mhm.
So it's interesting. A lot of different cities have a lot of different significances of what it is, and I'm learning them all as I'm going through this thing, you know. But in my case, you know, in the
Interesting.
Bronx, you know, certainly you see them all over the place. You still see them now, you know. And who knows? In
Mhm.
this case, it's probably just some kid being bullied, and they took his sneakers and threw
Yeah.
them up there.
Go
You know,
get those, Jack. And
there you
it's like,
go.
man, those
Exactly.
are my shoes.
Exactly. So I needed to have that there because I think every major city can kind of connect to that somehow. And it also had to be, those are old Converses from like the 70s. So
Yeah.
these are so it couldn't be anything new, like some new Air Jordans or anything like that. You know? Yeah.
Nah, you gotta have the cool ones from the 80s. Yeah,
That's
everybody
it.
was wearing those
That's it.
Converse.
Now, you know where this is reminiscent of? It actually took
What?
inspiration from it, this cover. Do you remember this movie by Harrison Ford called The Fugitive?
Yes.
The Fugitive. That's kind of reminiscent of what the cover is like. He is running, and I don't think he's kind of looking back, but the same kind of thing. And I remember when that was one of the inspirations behind the
Interesting.
layout. Yeah.
Yeah. Should I read into that?
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, don't read in too much.
You never know. I know when people reveal some of the influences for their work, and then you're like, oh, now I see where we're going. Right?
Exactly. Well, you know, someone picked it up yesterday on the podcast, which I thought was fascinating. If you look at my logo, I created my logo. If you probably go all the way to the top, you see it probably clear. If you look at the logo, you know,
This
as
one?
a graphic design, oh no, the one on top. If the one and keep going there, that one.
What? Sorry.
Right there. Yep, the logo. End of Zed. There you go. No problem. You know, there's a lot involved in it. You know, when I designed it, it had to be very space-like, so I made sure I chose the, you know, kind of thinner font. And then I needed it to break up. So the word Zed, I wanted to break it up in bits, like, you know, he's breaking up. But if you notice, the alien thing's on the bottom there.
Yes.
You know? It's like alien writing there, you know. And someone picked it up, and it took me, you know, it's the first time anyone asked me, is there any significance to that? And there is. And when we get to issue 3, you'll find out what it is, because it's actually a space writing, you know. And there's
here I am trying to translate it.
I know, right?
Upside down, like, you know, me and riddles, where I'm
Yes,
like, it's
correct.
upside down or backwards, or I need to fill in a few lines and then I can read it.
Sure. So there will be a significance to that. So it's interesting how people are picking up on it, you know. And yeah,
Good.
Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's always fun, where you're like, hey, did you look at all the things? And when people are like, yes, I noticed the thing that you did that you didn't think that anybody would notice. I noticed it.
Right.
Like, that's always a good feeling, because you're like, you know,
Like,
when you go that extra mile to put something secret in there for those people and they get it, that's the best feeling.
absolutely.
So.
And like you did with The Fugitive, you connected that after I told you that.
Yeah,
You're
I was like,
thinking about
wait a
the
minute.
story.
That's not good. I'm like, oh, he's running from something.
Yep. Yep.
Hmm.
So it's gonna be great. I'd say I'm really looking forward.
Ooh, is
I'm
he in a
so
time loop, Eddie? Don't
uh,
answer that. Don't
okay.
answer that.
All right.
Mm.
Absolutely. Well, remember, it's very historical, so you know everything is placed for a
Oh.
reason. Yeah, everything's for a reason. You know, it's exciting though. It's exciting to tell this story, and you know, at the end of the day, everything's derivative, right? All our
Mhm.
stories are derivative. You know, and but what makes them unique is the settings that you can put them in and the
Right.
characters that you can do to kind of tell that story. And he's certainly that. You know, yeah. Real trip making it, and I really do think that people are going to really enjoy it. It's going to take them for a ride, you know. Take them for a ride.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Because even though I've seen bits and pieces, I can't wait to like get my copy and do the deep read.
Right.
Because you know what I mean? And we've talked about this before. Like I love the digital, so I can like read through it the first time and
Right.
get to that twist ending and Eddie, oh my God. You
Right.
know, and then
Right.
when I get the physical, that's when I take my time and read it. And I want to hear the pages turn and I want to look for all the Easter eggs. And
Right.
that's really when I do the deep dive. So I like, you know, that you have all this hidden meaning. And again, it's one of those stories to make you think. And I'll probably show up in your DMs being like, so what about this?
Right. But how hard was it for you, like knowing when you wrote your first issue, right?
Yeah.
You kind of wanted to put everything all in it because you want to sell people on this. Listen, I want you guys coming back, but also you can't tell them everything, right? So how did you kind of calculate what would be in here? Because the second one and the first one, they're both amazing from what I read, but they are different.
Mhm.
They are different, and I dig that. Well, first of all, I dig the good, bad, and ugly theme. So even you didn't even have to put that there. That was already in the back of my head.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, you didn't even have to do that, you know.
Nice.
But what a difference! Like I could imagine, like when you did the first one, like you had so many cool scenes in the second one. Like, can I just squeeze this in here so people can buy the second one? So how did you have the patience for that?
It's and I mean, like everybody has to deal with this in their own way.
Right.
And for me, the first 12 is kind of the first arc. And so I when I chunked it out, I was looking, okay, like this is act 1, and I split that up into 4.
Right.
Because that's as many pages as I needed to tell the story. So it's like each one is telling you something about the world. So when we get through the first 4, that's the first, you know, act of a movie where it's world building, understanding the protagonist, you know, how the world works, the rules, the stakes, all of that. So if you look at each one, the first one was very much about Jude St. Clair. We took almost everything away.
Right.
Just him in the world.
Yeah.
And Save the Cat, how he deals with stress,
Right.
how he deals with women and children, how he treats his horse, the decisions that he makes. So that's the introduction to Jude St. Clair. So that was my intention in that first one, is to see Jude move through this world, see how terrible the world is, have him make decisions, and then have it all crumble. But he stands back up at the end. That's Jude St. Clair.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, this is what the world looks like with people in issue 2. Right.
Yep.
And he immediately finds what he's been looking for all these years.
Yep.
But I don't give you the answer because then I drop you into the flashback. But issues 3 and 4 were so important for the world building to understand, because people are like, oh, it's a zombie book. Oh, it's kind of a zombie book with Western, but we have undead bears. I'm not really sure. So 3 and 4 was very important to kind of parse out, like, this is how everything falls apart. And then that apocalypse at the end of 3 comes home. You know what I mean? There's watching the apocalypse and then having to live in the apocalypse. So that's what issue 4 is Jude now having to deal with, you know, what's going on and finding out that it's worse than what he thought. And so those 4 together is basically the opening of the movie. Right. And now it's like, now we're into the next part. So then the next act is like, things go wrong. Protagonist has a new goal, you know, how does he work towards that new goal is where we're at. But things fall apart.
See, but I would assume that maybe that can get you a little worried, right? Because when you make the first one, you're doing the world building, for example, and it's you only got one issue to do it in, right? So it's like, will people be patient enough to know that, okay, this is going to turn into something? We're just setting you up here, and I'm not used to it. I'm not experienced with that in terms of how you do it. So hopefully there's enough in my story where they're like, okay, this makes sense. I can see where he's going. I definitely want to hit issue 2.
Well, I think that you have to give them, you have to tease what's coming.
Yep.
You have to give them action. And then you got to end on a cliffhanger. So then we want to know
that's
what
it. Correct.
Next.
There you go.
Okay. So that's, in my humble opinion,
I agree.
What you would, what writers should be doing.
So my issue 1, check.
Check
I did good,
all the
Yoda.
boxes.
I did good, Yoda. I did good.
Right. And so this is the part where I ask you viewers to head over to Kickstarter and show some love over to End of Zed issue 1. Remember that we as independent creators, this is the most important time, is the Kickstarter, the campaign, the crowdfunding, because that's what allows creators like Eddie and myself to continue making stories, because we have to pay artists what they're worth, which is super important. We want to print things in good quality, and we want to ship things to you in an appropriate manner, not in a bubble mailer. And if you're listening to me and you have shipped stuff in a bubble mailer,
yes,
do it again. Try again. Upgrade.
No,
no, don't send things in a bubble mailer. So yeah, head on over. Go pick which one you like. I backed it. I am invested in this. I really would like to read this story 1, 2, 3, 4, however long it goes. So, and there's some cool stuff to go along with it. So go take a visit. Do some shopping. Christmas is coming too.
Yes.
So you can always back this, and then when are you expected to, let's see.
The last day will be the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was always a tough time for me, because remember, I needed to get this done by the end of the year. So, I knew the election was coming. So I knew that was going to be tough. People's brains aren't going to be certainly on a comic book during that time. And then, of course, Thanksgiving coming up, right? So I was kind of behind the 8 ball. And then I also had some issues with the pre-launch page. I had some issues where Kickstarter wasn't showing how many projects I backed. And so I wasn't having that. Yeah, but I fixed it, thank God. But I lost about a good week and a half, because I'm a big supporter of the community, and so we had some setbacks, but we're here. We got funded, and certainly we can reach that first stretch goal. Would be great. It's really about just getting people's stories in their hands, And don't forget
to save the cat. You need to save the cat. Not in Path. Right. We don't save cats in Path. However, I promise you, we don't have any cats in Path right now. There's no cats, just horses and dogs. And I'm sorry.
Because they'll get it at the end. They'll get it. Oh my God, that's a crazy story.
Here it is. Here for you, Lou.
Nice.
So Eddie, you have you written the entire script? Like, it's all down, and you're just producing the comic at this point?
Yeah, again, it's a movie script, so I got more information than I need. And boy, what an art, like taking from a movie script into a comic script, because in comics, graphics and visuals certainly can speak 1,000 words, right? So that's one of the things that at times it's a lot of fun trying to figure out how these panels are going to go into it, but it works. It certainly works at the end.
Do you have to? Mine is the same, where it was full-length movie, and now I have to condense dialogue. I think that's my biggest challenge, is having to rewrite dialogue so it fits on the page.
It's tough because you could miss out on some things. There's just not enough pages and not enough real estate to kind of say everything that the dialogue should say, right?
Right.
And so your character, whoever's speaking the dialogue, better make sure that they're using every word as efficiently as they can. You know? And so that's interesting. Sometimes
so how do you go about that? Do you have to compromise on things? Do you I find myself playing around with thesaurus a lot, trying to use exact language. But what's your
I think breaking it down to its simplistics, I think, is it.
Yeah.
I think breaking it down to see how many sentences can if you have let's say a paragraph full, but you need to get it down to 2 sentences, pick out the right words to give you those 2 sentences and to make sure that those words that are in there are significant from that paragraph. You didn't miss anything, you know. So that certainly helps. And also, you know, since I have more of a movie mentality. Hey, George, what's going on,
Hi,
man?
George.
All
Good
righty.
morning.
And I think also, like, with my editor, we actually
Yes.
talk it out a lot. We actually, like, it's a movie script. Okay, you tell me his dialogue, I'll tell you the next one. We'll see how it goes when you go back and forth, and that really helps, you know.
Yeah, I agree. My editor is
Yeah.
essential when it comes to that, where I'm like, I got to cut out like half of this. Like
Right.
it's not going to fit. Like, here's what I'm thinking. And then she's essential to be like, well, what about instead of this word,
Right.
you know,
Right.
this word? And like, we play around with the syntax and we move things around, and it, yeah, it makes a
Because
big
everything means
difference.
something. And, well, speaking of big difference, I saw George Medina's name up there. Oh my gosh, and
Yeah.
what a big difference he's made. There he is. What a big difference he made for this experience for me. I got to tell you,
Oh,
Laurie, from day one, he's like one of the first persons I met, you know,
yeah.
on this crazy journey. And, you know, he appreciated my artwork right from the beginning. Like, my icon, for example, I have Zed's in a helmet. And I remember on his show, even before I was even starting to make this an idea of making it a comic, he saw it and he loved the character design. And we actually grew a friendship from that because he's been the biggest supporter. We ended up finding out that he lives pretty close to me, relatively close.
Oh, cool.
And so he's been, you know, so George, you know, I'll say it. I've said it to you millions of times, but I certainly say it out here in space that how much I appreciate you and everything you've done for this journey for me, because he's been just nothing short but of spectacular and patient with me and very giving. So yeah, another good representation of the community.
I feel him blushing in the back.
There you go. Have you ever met anyone who said, "Oh, thanks, man"? You know, have you ever met anyone that had anything like when you talk about someone and they know him? It's like whenever I speak to anyone, do you know George? It's always like at the highest level. Oh, amazing guy, great, down to earth. He's like everyone that knows him.
Yeah.
Will tell me that about him, and it is true.
See, he's blushing. I feel yeah. George is one of my favorite people too, and
Yes,
I
I know
feel
that.
like when and he's a letterer as well.
Yep.
Like I letter mine. So when I'm stuck or like I'm questioning something, I'll call up George and be like, "Hey man, I'm trying to make sure that this reads right. Can you read it for me?" Or like, and so a lot of times I'm bouncing ideas back and forth off of George.
Yeah.
So he's been influential in my
Yeah.
writing and my lettering, and his show is amazing too.
Yeah.
Like Catch the Craze was one of the first shows that I did ever, and had a
Oh,
blast.
cool. Yeah,
And
me
Sam
too.
Vera is in Texas, so I see Sam a
Yes.
lot.
Yep. And
And
so's Lou
so
Pons, right?
yeah, I haven't met Lou yet.
Wow, there's a whole
Lou.
Texas connection here. Oh my
Well,
goodness.
Texas is huge, man.
Of course,
So
of course. That
we're
is
all
cool.
here, but it's not. That doesn't mean we're close to each other.
Oh, right. Correct.
It
Yeah,
could
yeah.
be really far away.
Yeah, Texas is
Because
big.
Gilbert's in San Antonio, and I forget where Matt is, but he's out west, and so like they're all so far away. It's like, yeah, we're in Texas, but we don't actually get to see each other.
But are the cons close to everyone though?
Yes and no. Gilbert and I did a con together. We did Cowtown, but that was quite a bit of a drive for him. It was closer to me than it was for him because San Antonio is about 4 hours south of where I am. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you, George. You can pay us $20 later. I'll make sure to make it to the right address.
George.
Yeah, we're all spread out. Like horse muck? I don't want to. We're not going to be horse muck, Lou. Yeah. We're going to compare us to something else.
Well, to tell you, and so George is writing about that misplaced address there because there's a story behind that, which is really
tell
cool.
us.
Yeah. So I don't know if you remember or heard, but I actually, you know, when I started with End of Zed, I needed to start doing the graffiti pieces that were going to be on the subways, you know, because I created all the graffiti in the story. And to get my palette wet again, because I've been spending so much time writing and marketing, I really hadn't drawn in the longest time. So what I did was I said, you know, let me start taking Duty, the character, and let me take Wonder Duck and let me start sketching those, you know, and I did. And as I kept doing both of them, I was like, wow, man, this is coming out really cool. So the Duty one I did for Sam, and it came out really cool, man. It's like Duty in a pair of Adidas, and it's like B-boy pose, and big Duty behind it. It really came out fresh. And
for those of you that don't know, Duty is a green alien drawn by Sam Vera. We're not talking about
Yes, the real
Duty.
thing, yeah, right. Exactly.
Well, like it's just Sam Vera's alien called Duty.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
There's an alien in my toilet.
So did you do a
excellent concept.
trio? So yours
What I did
Zed and Duty and Wonder Duck in
No.
one?
I just did his
Okay.
with Duty behind it, like in like a b-boy stance. And then I did
Yeah.
one for Wonder Duck, which was I created, the old Warner Brothers logo that had WB. I said, let's do a WD with him coming out, and it came out great, So
Cool.
it was just my thanking them for being so supportive, So I sent it to them, and then literally like right on the show the following day they're showing it. They really appreciate it, which is cool. But to the mailing thing, out of nowhere, George tells me, okay, what's your address, man? It's like, okay, my address is, and I give it to him. I don't know what he's doing, And then about a month later, he goes on, Eddie, did you ever receive the package? And I'm like, no, what package? He goes, is your town? And he gives my town's name. He's like, no, that's my town's name, but there's a word after it. It's not, there's a word after. So he sent it to like 4 hours away, someplace upstate,
Oops.
And so poor George is like,
Someone's like, what is this?
What is this? Right. And so, and again, it just shows how George is an amazing person, man. We end up finding out that it's at the wrong address. And so what's he do? He gets all this content and he sends me. And what does he send me? He sends me some cool shirts. He sells me the Wonder Duck logo that I did for him, but he put it on a sweatshirt. He sent me some books. I mean, come on. That's just so amazing, man. It's just, I really appreciate that. No one has to do anything in this world. So when someone does anything for you, I think everyone should acknowledge it, that, it's if it's done out of love and kindness, man, that's just amazing, man. Because a lot of people aren't that fortunate to be that appreciated. And certainly he did it. So he did it with the wrong address. And that's why he's mentioned that, okay, make sure that he gets the right address. So when I send him the book, I'm going to make sure I send it to the wrong address.
No, you can send it to me. I'll be like, I have your copy, George. Come get it.
Exactly. So
hi, Gray Wolf. Nice to see you. He says, I was in San Antonio for Air Force basic training, November 79 to January 80. Wow. Made sure to visit the Alamo, Breckenridge Zoo, Riverwalk before I shipped out. Yeah, for tech school. It's nice down there. Yeah. I haven't actually been to the Alamo yet. Shh, don't tell anybody. I know. It's a Texas thing. I'm trying to click on things. What? I don't want to know. Yeah, seriously.
Oh, that's Al. Hey, what's going on?
That's Al, and he's. I don't want to know what happened. Okay,
you
keep that to yourself. Glenn says I've been around more of Texas than Britain. Really? And yeah, Texas is a big place. Fits right in. Drawing Duty has pulled me out of an art slump. That's cool. Yeah, and I love like Sam is so talented. He draws Duty as like all these pop culture characters. Yeah. It's so great. So it's like you can have Cowboy Duty. He has Wednesday Addams. He has from the Matrix. I mean, like you name it, he's drawn Duty as that.
And it's so cool.
We're just freaking out over here. What's going on? Bro, did hurt to have those images for us. And wasn't English. George, try again. Thank you, man. By the way, the person where the box went to by mistake reached into it with me and sent it back. Oh, that's nice.
Oh, you got it this weekend. Okay, good.
Cool.
Yeah, because that was someplace upstate,
At least they sent it back if they, and if they weren't going to pay for it.
Well, I remember once I lost my wallet once, Laurie, in a giant game, and I had like about $60, and then I get it in the mail. I was like, oh, it's here. This is awesome. Minus the $60. But at least I got
Hey, man, at least your cards and your license were there, but still, they were like finder's fee.
Right. That's exactly. That's it. So so cool story with George, and something I'll never forget. Really cool.
So Eddie, where else are you want to do? Where that didn't make any sense. What else are you planning on doing with your writing? Do you have other stories in you? Do you going to do a spinoff? What are you thinking now that you have this writing bug?
Well, I mean, it's going to take me all next year to finish all the rest of the issues. So I'm sure I'm not going to have a lot of time to write. There's a lot of
that goes by super quick, man.
As we talked about,
we're going to be back here next year talking about your other two issues.
Yes,
watch.
I hear you. Yeah, no, I got a really good story for a children's story. I always want to write a children's book, so it's going to be really cool. Yes, I would love to work on that, but again, this is so consuming.
Oh, I feel you.
Yeah, in my day gig, as I kind of have like a art director capacity, we'll call it. I run thousands of through the years, thousands of projects. There's never been anything this hard or this encompassing as this project here. And I know a lot of it has to do that it's your story, right? And when you take it in personal, you probably take a little bit more care with it than you normally do, and you certainly, make sure that you check everything more than you normally would on another project. So no, this is going to consume me again for another year and a half. So, but in the meantime, yes, write on the side, and certainly draw and still create. That at the end of the day, that's one of the things I really missed the most when I started working on George's piece and Sam's piece. That this is a part of who I am, and I certainly don't want to neglect it. So.
Is that a service you can offer to other creators to kind of make them custom logos and custom tags?
Sure. Yep, absolutely. When I created the Pond Brothers cover, for example, with when Hades reached out to me, and again, speaking about another amazing person in the community, I'll do anything for Hades, and he had the a wrestling belt, and I said, yeah, absolutely, I actually have some time now, and so I did the belt in a different kind of like perspective, and he also gave me the just the inks of the Pond Brothers, and so that was really cool, kind of getting that to be like a comic kind of cover feel with this belt on the bottom left, so that was fun. So I would love to do more of that, absolutely. So anyone hit me up if you're working on a project, we'd love to see what's involved, and that's cool.
Do you think you would go to like some cons when you have your physical books, like because you're going to start going in person and book signings?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I got to tell you, what a difference when you have this puppy in your hand. What a difference, what a different game it is. And I don't know if you could appreciate it because you're probably so used to it at this point.
No.
But like to have the Kickstarter idea, right? And to do all the marketing, to do the TikToks and the Instagrams, no one really sees it. But when I put this in people's hands, it is amazing the reactions that I get, from people. And I think that's something I would really love to kind of explore. So yeah, maybe a con in the future. I don't see it now, but I think eventually it's something that would be inevitable. Because that certainly seems like a cool experience,
Mm-hmm.
And in your case, I mean,
Different.
yeah. Was there any things that you kind of remember from your first experiences at a con when you're physically showing someone your book?
Yeah. So the first con that I did was Cowtown 3 years ago.
Okay.
And all we had was issue 1. That's all I had.
Okay.
I didn't have any merch. I didn't have any hot sauce.
Okay.
I just had issue 1. And it was like
no wooden covers.
No, not like not hardly anything, right?
Okay.
To be honest with you. And the only reason we got the table is because someone had canceled. And I'm familiar with the Charter Comics group, like I'm a part of them, and I was very new at that time with Charter Comics and just got my issue 1s, and they were like, hey man, we had someone cancel, you can come for free and just set up. And I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. And they're like, it's cool. So I had like a tablecloth and
wow, okay,
and full of books, and they're like, how do I present these? So I went and got like those photo stands, and I just had like a couple, and I had like 2 variant covers, and
wow, off to the races.
Yeah, jump in with both feet. It was like, hey, this is in a week. Do you want to come? Sure.
Did you have time to think about your pitch, like how to approach people?
How do you sell your book, and how do you talk to people? And I mean, like it has grown and changed so much since then, but it's always good to just go and experience. And like people want comics, they want something new, and they buy something that's cool, but they also they feed off of your enthusiasm and your passion.
Sure.
So when you're passionate, and they like, Eddie, you're such a natural when you talk about your project. So I think you would be really great at a con, that you would do wonderful, just because you're so like genuine and, hey, just easy going and talking, not high sales, pressure or whatever. That people will just eat it up. And it's like, here we are 2024, and it's like the 80s is reminiscent now.
I know. There you go. It's just connecting with people, Yeah, no, it really helps is when I watch Sammy's stories, right? When Sam goes and he does all his cons, and You know,
Oh gosh.
I always appreciate when he puts his stands up and he puts on, you know, his marketing things. He places all his stickers and everything, and it looks like a lot of work. He does it through like time lapse, and it looks like a crap load of work. But you know, at the end, he's telling you that this is like his best time where he can zone in. He appreciates that he likes it. He likes
Yes.
setting up and everything. So he's certainly super passionate about it. And then when him and George talk about the approach, you know, there was one show
Yeah.
that they had, which was awesome. And George is talking about how, you know, how do you approach customers? You know, are you the salesman, like you mentioned before?
Yeah.
Are you the one that lays back? Are you the ones that have other kind of tactics to meet people? So there's an art to it all in itself.
There is.
I would love to experience that. That'd be really cool.
Yeah. And it's fun to go your first time and make sure you have someone come with you so you can go walk and you can talk to people and you can see like, I really like that. Ooh, I've never seen that before. Like, and you can utilize some of these things that other people are already doing as part of your experience. But yeah, that's a whole thing. Like we could go dive into that. Like, how do you get people to stop at your table?
Yeah. George and Sam did a great job with that. Yeah. The way they do it, you know. I remember it wasn't Calderon. It was I forgot, it was someone. They were mentioning that how they try to create like a scene in front of their stand so that way people can come there, you know,
George
which is good. Yeah, right. Which is awesome, man. Which is super clever, you know.
By the way, thank you, Pity Ma. She says she just backed cover 8, brings back a lot of memories. Former New Yorker from Soundview Manor Avenue.
6th grade, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Love to see it. Oh, appreciate that. Oh,
New York
my
Comic Con
God.
next. Oh my gosh, that's a big one.
Oh,
New York Comic Con is one of those, like, I feel like you got to go in with the crew. Like someone gets in and then like you bring 3 people in with you to help cover that table cost because oh my gosh, it's so expensive.
Yeah. How much does the table cost now? Like, is it about 2,000 or something like that? Or wow.
Honestly,
how many comics you have to save?
How many comics do you need to sell to get that back?
To get that 2,000. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
I don't know. That's why I'm like, that's why you gotta go in with a crew.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You and you get Saturday, you and you get Sunday.
And then you wonder, New York, I'm sure would be worth it. But then, you know, again, from Sam and George's show, like Rosario, that was it. It was Rosario, right? Rosario, who was awesome.
What does he do in front of his table?
Well, he like, which is clever. I think he like creates, like, if there's someone with a cool cosplay, he will have pictures taken in front of his booth with them, and so people see that people in the cosplay, and they think it's cool. And all of a sudden, like a little crowd forms, and they can go and sell their wares, you know. And he does a good job of it, man. His thing is awesome, man. His stand and everything. I just saw him at the New York Comic Con. I felt like I was in a comic store. The way he had everything set up perfectly and everything, you know.
Interesting.
But yeah, people use different tactics. You know,
George has the wheel,
right? And the wheels.
Oh, the spinny wheel where you can win something.
Yes.
I just tried something new, Eddie, where I dressed up as a character from my world, not like a character from the story, just like I was a salesperson from the apocalypse.
Oh, that is cool. Did you go in character?
I was in character, had an accent, had a scar on my face, and was just like, "How y'all's apocalypse going?" And like, so I was being obnoxious, but in character. So I feel like it was okay. Like if I was trying to be obnoxious as myself, I would feel self-conscious.
Right.
Like, hey, would you like comics? But as a apocalypse salesperson, I was just like, I take all forms of payment, paper money, magic card, but I don't take vaccines or what else did I say? Formaldehyde. You know what I mean? And that like people were like, what is she talking about? And so like I had people come over just to be like, what, you know? So that was actually really good too.
Did anyone play with you? Did anyone play up with you? Like there were people who, like, you know.
I had a couple people that they didn't pretend they were they didn't pretend they were in the apocalypse, but they agreed with me because this was end of October, so before the election, right? They're all like, it's apocalypse for sure, you know.
Oh yeah, gotcha. Okay, so they got into character too. Oh, that's so cool.
But I had another guy that was like, your sales tactics is great. You should continue doing this because this was fun.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so noted.
You know,
but I mean.
Well, that's one great thing about your brand is, though, it's so universal, man. Who doesn't love action? And then, you know, Things About Death, and then of course westerns, and like you got a
Cocaine
good
Bear.
market. Yeah, exactly.
It's like I just sprinkle in some Cocaine Bear, and
And
people
there
are
you
like,
go, exactly. There you go. See,
so maybe because I know sometimes you can bring music, but you can't have it super loud.
right,
But you
right.
can play hip hop. You
Right.
should dress up as a DJ.
There
and
you go.
sell
I
your
did with
book.
the big afro doing it.
Yes.
Yes,
And the chains and
yeah,
like the hip hop gear.
yes,
That's what
yes.
I'm saying. Like
Or
you
better
should be
yet,
like, oh,
spend
see
all
what
that
I got
money and
here.
get a costume of him. Holy cow, with a big giant head and come out to you, and that'd be great. But speaking of themes, though, Laura, I tell you, that's one of the things that I did worry about was that I'm hoping I wasn't pigeonholing myself with the story, because it
No.
is very urban, and certainly hip hop is one of the central theme, and that's one of the things I did have a concern over when I first started it. Like, are people going to really dig this, because it is kind of somewhat niche as compared to everything superheroes and
Yeah.
and things like that. But thank goodness the people spoke, and it wasn't that way. People really dig the story, because I think the story first and foremost is what stands out, as opposed to where it takes place from. So I'm grateful for that. But I'm also grateful for that the one that just donated there, and she's from New York, and
Mhm.
that's also too. I love New York. I mean, New York is a big. I'll never leave here. And New York, and one of the reasons I love it is the vibrancy and how there's always something new. And boy, you should have seen this place before 9/11, though. 9/11 was even
Yeah.
more vibrant. So unfortunately, things change. So yeah, it's my homage to New York and New York City that I love dearly, and that I'll never leave. So hopefully that comes through in the story as well too.
I think so, but I think you hit a lot of different topics that
Mhm.
are attractive to people. So I really like Apocalypse. I'm in.
Yes.
You know what I
Yes, there
mean?
you go. Right, right.
I don't really follow hip hop, and I'm
Right.
not from New York, but it was just like Apocalypse. Okay. You know
Right.
what I
Yeah,
mean?
correct, great.
And then the
But in your
people are like New York. Yes, I love New York. Oh, New
right,
York in the 80s. Oh,
right.
I'm in. You know what I
Correct,
mean?
correct. And even
So,
music, you don't necessarily have to like hip hop, but you certainly
you
appreciate the
know
power of
it.
music. You know the power of
Right.
music, though. So whether it's your hip hop or not, I'm sure music affects you in some way.
Yes.
So you
And the
understand it completely
power
correct.
of music,
Yes, the
you
power of
know?
music is what
And
it
we
comes
talked
down to.
about this too last time, where it was like your story and like treble, how hip hop um really affects your characters, and like how
Yes.
music itself can make you feel happy, sad,
Yeah.
excited.
Mhm.
So it's interesting that, he's affected by music, and is there other music that he feels in the story, and what happens to this
Right.
robot when he
Yeah.
feels it. So
Correct.
all
Correct.
sorts
And
of
the
cool
power
stuff.
that he gets from it. Absolutely.
What's this? Lori gets a lot of practice as Karen every other. Yeah. I'm not ready to unleash Karen on the con goers.
Imagine that. You might get kicked
Mm.
out.
I was
Might
like,
get arrested.
someone was like, you should do it. You should do it. And I was like, but I'm trying to sell books. And Karen hates comics. And Karen thinks all nerds are incels. Like, she's just full of insults. And she was like, one of my friends was like, people pay money to be insulted. Like, they'll come for that. And I was just like, I
Well, you
don't
know how it
know.
could work though, Lori? It could work if you have a straight man. If we have the
Yeah.
straight man that's selling a comic, and then
Yeah.
Karen comes out of nowhere and entertains and kind of like,
Yeah.
I think that's
Causes
where it would work.
chaos
That's it.
and then
Correct.
goes away, right? So they can
Right.
close the sale.
Close the deal. Right. Correct. Correct. And only you
Mhm.
could play Karen, so it's not going to be. You have to
No,
have a
can't.
sales as a straight person.
Mm,
Maybe
that's
if
an
your husband's
idea.
a straight person. How about that? You could be the straight
Oh,
man.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like, I love him dearly, but this is not his scene. Like,
Right. Mm-hmm.
maybe my TPB with a record, maybe. What's TPB?
TPB.
With a record, maybe. Like, the record? Scratch a record?
Like scratching with the record.
You'll have to tell us
TPB.
more.
Yeah,
Prima.
please. And please, before the show ends, because I definitely want to know what it is.
Dante and Karen would have to do that together. It's the only way to sell books. That would be fun. Dante could sell books. Oh, the trade paperback. The trade paperback.
There you
Oh,
go.
and a record.
Yes, that's a great idea.
Ooh,
Yep,
pretty much.
that is awesome. Yes. Or what about a cassette? Well, no, I guess a vinyl would
Cassette
be more
tapes?
appropriate. Yeah, a vinyl would be more appropriate.
For
I mean, cassettes
80s?
did come out then. They did come out in the 80s, but vinyl would be more appropriate. That's true. Yeah.
Both would be cool.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. You give me some ideas here.
Yeah.
Excellent.
You're
You know
gonna do
what it
like
is?
a full-on mixtape. Like, I don't
Yes.
even have a cassette player anymore, but that would be hilarious to be like, you put
Yeah.
it in, and it's literally 80s hip hop recorded from the radio.
And you know what's cool is like, I mean, think about that. Think about just the record itself and how that just changed. Like it was different when you listened to music on a record player, right? Because you put on the first track and you would have to wait for the whole song to play. And if you wanted a new song, well, guess what? You had to get up, grab the needle, put
Start
it
it
on the
again.
next track. And so, but think about how much that you fast forward to now, and gosh, with Spotify, you can make your own records. Anytime you can put all your old tracks on one thing, you can go to anything instantly. So look at the differences there between like the 80s and now. And really what it probably does to people and how they listen to music, for example. Because I do know when I used to listen to records, I would not have the patience to get up to change it. So I would have to, a song that I didn't like, I would have to grin it and bear it and just listen to it. But at the end of the day, I ended up liking the song. It's like, wow, I never would have liked it if I didn't let it play through. So it is very interesting how our technology tells us a lot about a people. And I don't know, I hate to be an old fogey here, but it seems as like we probably could appreciate music better then, because we were forced to listen to it more. Like a cassette player, if you wanted the next track, you'd have to get up and hit forward, right?
Yeah. So. We're just so impatient these days. Well, I don't know, impatient or just short attention span. You know what I mean? Everything is short. Everything is 30 seconds to a minute.
Yeah.
And like you said, immediate satisfaction.
Yeah.
Like hit the next button. You know what I mean? Or only put the songs that I want.
Right.
So we're probably missing out on a ton of things.
It would have to be effective, right, Laurie? I mean, right now we can see any movie we want. We'll just go ahead and stream it. You know, we can make a meal literally in 5 minutes. And if we can't, we can DoorDash it and it'll be here, right? So all of these things, I think what ends up being the negative part of it is that we lose our patience. Because now, you know, we're expecting that instant gratification.
That's my kids.
Yeah.
Like when there's a commercial, we have Pandora, you know what I mean? And it's like, it plays music and then it will play an ad. And they're like, stupid commercials. Like, get rid of the commercials. And I was like, it's free. What do you expect?
Right.
They're not used to not being able to pause things. Pause the show. I'm going to go to the bathroom. Right.
Wow.
And when it's on TV and they're like, pause the show. I'm like, there's no pause here.
Yeah, I see it with my kids too. Absolutely. Yeah. They don't understand that back in the day, you'd watch your favorite TV show. If that came on at Thursday at 7, you had to be there Thursday at 7.
Yeah.
And if you're not, well, you missed out. And when you watch the show, like you said, the commercial came on. I don't care how impatient
that's when you run to the kitchen.
Right.
Hurry up, I got a minute. Remember the free floppy vinyls on the covers of the music magazines?
Oh, yes. I remember that too. Yes, I remember that. You ever give you free ones?
Freestyle cassettes. That's right.
Oh,
where like, record it. Right. You miss like the first 10 seconds of the song. It's good. I got the rest of it, you know.
And when you meant freestyle, you meant freestyle music or freestyle the way you record it?
I was assuming.
Okay,
I was recording
it. Freestyle music. So
there's different. Yeah, the freestyle music is something different.
Yes.
And just a reminder to go back End of Zed because it's amazing and you should jump on board. And it's really now's a good time because it's funded, so you're guaranteed a book. And I mean, like Eddie had one in his hands, so it's not like you have to. Because sometimes with Kickstarter, people are like, it's Kickstarter. I don't know if it's not a thing or not, but it's like you physically have one in your hand. They can see that the art is done. They can see the quality of what they're going to be getting. There's no risk here. What's this? I would almost break my neck running home to watch the X-Files. Convinced the video recorder was programmed wrong every time.
You want to make sure that, the Lupons, I hear you. And I remember life before the video recorder. There wasn't even anything like that. You had to be there at that time. If you weren't, oh well.
You ever tape over something you weren't supposed to?
I love it. Oh yeah.
Whoops.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I think what gets lost there, the Laurie, is patience, right? And I do see it with my kids. I do see where this kind of instant gratification, and I think it's unfortunate because I know, I mean, that really stems creativity is patience. You know, anytime you're creating something, if you don't have the patience to work through those difficult times, whether it's art or writing or anything, if you don't kind of have the expectation of having to be patient about something, you know, you're really going to be in for a hard time because the things that are worthwhile require patience. So,
I agree.
Do. You know, you were speaking before, Laurie, about you're speaking about how, you know, people will add to a campaign if they. Yeah, I hear you, Lupons. Absolutely, like $8 billion. Yeah.
Yep.
So, you were talking before how like some people may not donate to a campaign because they don't know if it's going to come through, right? And so once it does come through, they'll do it. What's the reason for the big surge at the end of a Kickstarter campaign? Because they tell you, right, you start off strong, and then why is that?
I think a lot of people do that, well, for a couple of reasons. One, Kickstarter is now pushing your campaign into a new category of almost over. And so if they didn't track you on Project I Love or things that are like you'd show up at these are ending. You know what I mean? So they push all those at the very end. And so a lot of people might find you at the very end. Another reason is financial, because now I got paid. Now I know I have enough money, because if I back you 30 days ago, I'm not really sure if anything could come up. You know what I mean? And I know that the money doesn't come out until the very end. So a lot of times those people at the end are like, okay, I have the money. I know where I can back now.
Right. Gotcha. Okay.
Plus,
and those
you're reminding those people you call in your favors, like, hey,
right, exactly.
And they're like, oh yeah, I meant to back this. I just, life gets busy.
Right. So you kind of remind me,
this is your last day. This is the last 24 hours. It's the last 5 hours.
So the same holds true for those that get out of campaigns too, right? Like, because isn't the percentage like 5 to 7%? Like, what have you found your numbers to be? In terms of those that
they've all been different. Some of them I find some where they're just like up and down, up and down, up and down, and then the last day is just up. But usually like the last 24 hours, I'll have people cancel, people back, people adjust, people back. So you'll get a lot of up and down. And again, it's the same thing. Like they're at the end of the month and they had backed at maybe $60 and they don't have the $60 to spare. So they're like, maybe I can't do 60, maybe I do 20, or they just cancel.
Right. I gotcha.
So unfortunately, those reminder emails that we all send out, like, hey, last 24 hours, they're like, cancel. And you're like, no.
I wish you didn't get that.
Right. Yeah, you just sometimes want them to forget. It's no, I did not record catfishing over my wedding video. Haha, that's funny. No. But yeah, and also fear of that's the fear of missing out. Like, yeah, oh my gosh, but you'll get that slew at the end, and that's always helpful. A lot of times, if you're super close to those stretch goals too, you might get people that will help push over those stretch goals. And I've had people adjust higher just to get us over stretch goals too.
Okay.
Where it's like, we're right at like one. We had a 6,000 was always one where it's like, we want to get over that one. That's the slice and dice. And so we'll go over and then we'll go under and then we'll go over and then we'll go under and then we'll go over. And someone will adjust and be like, gosh, dang it, I'm tired of it. And like people just adjust, like add on a t-shirt. And so like it kind of solidifies you over that. So that happens too.
What an animal. I tell you, what a beast this whole Kickstarter
It's an emotional roller coaster. But hey, and now that you've done almost a complete one, how are you feeling about the process?
Well, I remember you told me that. I remember how you told me right in the beginning, Laurie, right on this show, you were on my launch show, that you're going to go for some ride, and boy, you were right. You're right. And I think one of the things it does test you personally, right? Because sometimes if you take it personal, what was it that I did wrong? Did I not market it right? Did I just not make the right connections? So sometimes you could take it personal,
Some of us do shows to remind them at the end. Yes, I always make posts about campaigns ending soon. Thank you, Pops. Pops is a wonderful, wonderful content creator. He will push shows. And what's great, and like Pops doesn't make comics. He's not a writer, an artist. He loves comics and he loves to help people succeed. So talking about paying it forward. Speaking of, what's this one? Box of Tape, a rock opera graphic novel. Box of Tapes. That one's ending soon, so everybody go check that one out.
That's a good project. Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah, he has music that plays along with the comics. Really cool. Good music too.
Here's another link too. This is Grey Wolf's project on Amazon, Renfield. This one's available as well. I want to make sure that gets up on the screen too. So
cool.
What were you saying though? What was your experience for this first time?
Yeah, So and what made it good? A lot of things were expected. Talking to you guys, watching your shows, certainly speaking to you, and you helped me with the Kickstarter. I think there weren't any really major surprises. I heard of the rush in the beginning. I heard of the lull at the end. I heard of, And also even too marketing, I think marketing didn't surprise me neither. Really, the consensus I'm getting from everyone out there that are in my position is that certainly, like Instagram is dead or Facebook ads are dead. Like a lot of things that I did and I tried, they were right. It's interesting how we have the pulse of how everyone has the pulse of in terms of marketing. So it's kind of scary, right? Because, you could do everything you can to market, right? You can get everything in front of people's faces. You remind them about the Kickstarter. You tell them there's 10 days left and all that. But at the end of the day, it's like, what is it that makes people push the button? And sometimes it could be just good old fashioned luck. Some person saw it that digs it and wants to do it. And there's some cases that it just doesn't work because the eyeballs just didn't get on it. So it was very interesting, that part of it. I think the marketing part of it was very interesting. Because I certainly, hit it hard and kind of follow everyone's game plan, everyone's game plan in terms of how to market it and how to use Instagram. I think I could have did way better on Facebook, that's for sure. Facebook, I was definitely in a lot of groups that I pumped things into, but I've never really been on Facebook, to be honest with you, so I didn't really know how it operated and worked. I'm more of an Instagram guy, so that's one thing that surprised me. My family and friends coming through, that did not surprise me because they've always been there and I've always appreciated that. I didn't know how much this means to me, so they came through and boy, that was really nice.
They may or may not be back for the next one. Just
that's the big one. Correct. I'm reminded of that all the time. It's certainly at some of the volumes that some of them did, which is fine.
Yeah.
I completely could understand that. Yeah. It's good to know. It's good to know what you did here is different than, but Kickstarter and Indiegogo, if I were to choose to do that, those are just one phase of the market. Another phase is something I haven't really spoken of a lot, is that I'm going to have some meetings with some pretty, established people, some entrepreneurs, but one in particular that I can announce is there's a hip hop museum that's in the Bronx.
Oh, cool.
It's $1 million facility. It's gorgeous. And it opens next year. So we're going to have a meeting, hopefully by the end of this year, but it looks as though it's going to go in the beginning of next, where we're going to speak about sponsorship of this. And so that'll kind of take on the different things. So
that's awesome.
That's why I'm kind of glad I'm doing this Kickstarter, because, I don't know if in deals that I may make in the future, it may not be available through other channels like this. It might be only available to the way they may want to sell it. But but that example of the hip hop museum, it fits perfectly with the theme, of exactly what the hip hop museum is. So, and it's got an amazing branding as far as I'm concerned. It's got a built-in audience. And so it'd be very interesting to see when I start taking on these meetings the beginning of next year of where it goes. So, yeah. Well, so build the tribe first and we'll see if they come,
Heck yeah, man. Yep. That's awesome. And congratulations on that. And I hope that things come to fruition for you. Where can people follow you? I know you said Instagram is pretty much your home base. Yep. So what are your socials, just so people know where to follow so we can come with you on this journey?
Sure. So the website, endofzed.com, a website. And then, yes, Instagram, I would say I'm more active on than anything. I have the End of Zed Instagram account. Then I also have a ZNK 238 on Instagram, which I'm pretty live on, pretty much live on. But those are the three things. And then we'll see what happens in the future. I do know one thing. I made friends that I will have probably for the rest of my life, and you're one of them, Laurie.
Thank you.
And George, and people that I'll always be connected with. And certainly, listen, I got a long way to go, so I'm not saying bye at all.
No. But it's like now we're on the journey together.
Correct.
Right?
That's exactly.
It's like I get to watch your journey, you get to watch my journey, and like we can support each other through the whole thing.
Correct.
So
yes.
That's fun.
No. Yoda's not leaving me yet. No.
Yoda will fade away into nothingness.
Right.
At like some point. Right. After I get done with the very last Path of the Pale Rider, I can die happy. Thank you.
There you go.
At that point, I'll be 900 years old. Still going to Comic Cons and shouting at people with a fake scar and I don't know. So good times. But this was a wonderful show. Thank you again for coming on. Congratulations on your success, and we will be watching to see where the rest goes. Very excited.
Thank you so much, Laurie, and thanks for launching me again. I'll keep thanking you for the rest of my life, but thank you. Here we are. We kind of made it full circle.
Yeah, we did, right?
Really
we
cool.
Still got 8 days to go. Yep. We're gonna break some stretch goals and give you that nice buffer.
Yes.
Nice buffer.
And who backed me today, thank you very much.
Yes,
I appreciate that.
Thank you, Petty Mom.
Thank you. Yes.
And thank you everybody for watching. We will catch you all next week on the Tuesday Morning Brew. Please remember to be excellent to each other and kiss your babies. We'll see you again next week. Bye.
Comic Books for Kids provides comic books to kids in hospitals and cancer centers across the U.S. It's a place where we can all work together to make sure every child has a comic book. 100% of all proceeds go towards the kids. It's about making a difference, and while they're in the hospital, allowing them to fly like a superhero, battle dragons, or rescue teddy bears. We are in every state in the country and now support over 160 hospitals. Every month, we add more.
Visit cb4k.org.